Alright, how you doing, guys? We're back for another whiskey review. This time we're going to be looking at the other Tennessee whiskey, the other big name Tennessee whiskey, the one that can be called a Tennessee whiskey. This is George Dickel, established in 1870. This is their Tennessee Sour Mash whiskey, their number 12. 45% alcohol by volume, so 90 proof. This is one of those ones where some people get a little confused. They see the number 12 and they think, oh, it must be aged 12 years. And, you know, their labeling doesn't necessarily do much to dissuade that. They kind of prominently show the 12. There's a plastic label here that comes off when you tear the seal that also has a very prominent 12 on it. As far as the aging goes for this, as far as I can tell, it's probably somewhere between 4 to 8 years. I've sort of seen different ideas on what the exact age for this is. Not quite sure. No age statement, of course. Mash bill is 84% corn, 8% rye, and 8% in malted barley. And this is from the Cascade Distillery in Cascade Hollow in Tennessee. So there you go. Apparently this is older at the very least than their number 8 that they have, and they have a couple other expressions as well. Of course this goes through the process that makes it a distinct Tennessee whiskey, that makes it distinct from bourbon, which is the charcoal filtering. I don't know exactly if there's any sort of subtractive qualities from the process here, because charcoal filtering, depending on whether the charcoal is activated or not, can either really add a nice bit of flavor to it, or it can strip flavor away. Either way, charcoal filtering is used to sort of mellow the spirit out a little bit, make it a bit smoother to taste and drink. So that's sort of one of the reasons why it's done with this, because I suspect that this is probably leaning more towards 4 years rather than 8 to 10 years. Same thing for like Jack Daniels, I'm pretty sure as well. It's a way to basically make the spirit a lot more mellow, smooth, easy to drink, easy to mix, and that's why it's so popular, just like Jack Daniels is so popular. Difference between this one, though, is when it's going through its charcoal mellowing process, it sits in the vats of charcoal instead of being dripped through them like the Jack Daniels process. Now, what difference that makes, I have no idea, but I do know that that is the case with this stuff. And yeah, I don't know if there's anything else we need to really say here in the preface for all this stuff. Started by George Dickel in 1870, and they're proud of saying that they chill filter their shit. Sugar maple charcoal, and they say we let our whiskey rest as long as it needs to before bottling. We think this makes for fine, smooth whiskey, and hope you agree. So yeah, I don't really know. Yeah. So there you go, George Dickel. So let's take a look at it here. From what I've read, some different sources saying there is no caramel coloring here, so it might all be color from the wood. It's definitely lighter in color than Jack Daniels. I think Jack Daniels is a little bit darker than that. This is pretty golden amber. So yeah, we'll go right to the aroma. Nice, just like oak spiciness, maybe a teeny bit of spice from the rye. But I'm getting a lot of vanilla, a lot of wood, a little bit of a maple character, and there's a surprising little citrus hint in there as well, like orange peel or something along those lines. Smells very good. I like it. It definitely smells a bit more complex than Jack Daniel's. So we'll go right to the taste now. Wow. This is definitely drier than Jack Daniel's in the finish. It's got a big woody presence to it. Not necessarily smoke, but actually I would say smoke. Sort of a tobacco leather smoke kind of finish. Big burst of sort of maple and vanilla at the beginning of it. It is a little warm going down. Probably a little bit harsher than Jack Daniel's in some regards. But I'm almost getting a sort of a chocolate fudge, sort of a little bit of character there as well. This is way more complex than Jack Daniel's is. This is, you know, they like to say that they're distinct from bourbon, and that no, this is a Tennessee whiskey. This isn't bourbon at all. Tennessee whiskey technically falls under the laws of what you need to be a bourbon. So, for all intents and purposes, this is just a bourbon that goes through a different process of filtration. And so, what this tastes like basically is a dialed back bourbon, because I suspect the filtration does take something away from this. So yeah, it kind of just is a sort of a dialed back, but kind of a interesting bourbon at the same time. Yeah, more of that sort of sweetness, that sort of chocolate fudge sweetness is coming out now. It's pleasant. I know the intention for this, just like for Jack Daniel's, is more headed towards the let's mix this with something market. It's very much produced in a way that's supposed to be suited for that. I would probably not do that too much. This is one where I'd probably pick this up to just drink straight. Jack Daniel's, on the other hand, maybe you do want to mix that one. Maybe you want to make a Jack and Coke, or you know, as horrid as those things are, or if you want to make like a whiskey sour or something like that. Jack Daniel's is probably a better idea for that. This one here, this is perfectly fine. Just kind of simple bourbon, really. Kind of a simple bourbon. But that being said, after going on that tirade, I mean, about mixing, I'm probably going to attempt to make some bourbon rickeys later on, which is a variation of the sort of gin rickey or the lime rickey or whatever you want to call it. It was actually the first iteration of that sort of drink before the other ones became more popular. But I'm going to try and make some of those later. And, well, I have this on hand, so why not try it with this? Although I do have several other whiskeys sitting over there too that could probably work as well. I've got that shitty rye Revolution, or Rampart, or Revolution, I can't remember what the fuck it was called, sitting over there that I don't really want to use for straight drinking. And I have Wild Turkey Rye, and I have Jim Beam Rye as well. So yeah, I can try all of them tonight. Fun, fun, fun. So for this, I forget what the price was. I should have looked that up. I know this is actually fairly cheap. I'm pretty sure this is actually priced cheaper than Jack Daniel's, which is kind of funny considering this is more complex and a more interesting drink than Jack Daniel's. But I'm going to stick this at a solid B+. There's nothing wrong with it. It could definitely be a lot better. I mean, if this was not charcoal filtered, and if it actually aged for upwards of 10 years, you might have yourself a really nice world-beating kind of bourbon here. But as it sits, it's pretty goddamn good stuff. So B+ for George Dickel, Tennessee Sour Mash Whiskey. And we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.